Welcome to Ellis Island. Come with me as I take you on a virtual tour of the island, as well as the 10 steps all aliens took to become an American citizen. More than 12 million immigrants made their first stop in America at Ellis Island Immigration Station between 1892 and 1954. More than 40% of Americans can trace their family history back to Ellis Island. Immigrants came from all over the world, including Europe, Asia, Africa, North and South America, Oceania, and many other countries not specified. From 1820 to 1969, the majority of immigrants came from Europe. However, since 1970, this trend shifted with the majority of immigrants coming from North and South America, as well as Asia. Over the next 3 slides, you can take your time to explore the total number of immigrants, not only by decades seen here, but also by region, as well as 50-year periods by region. Notice the shift in the numbers as well as the regions that represent immigration. Step 1. The passage. Most immigrants who came to America through Ellis Island came to escape the poverty and religious intolerance that existed in small towns in countries such as Italy, Poland, and Russia. Many began their journey to America on foot, horseback, or train, and many trekked hundreds of miles across Europe to get to a seaport. Upon arrival at the coast, immigrants boarded steamships to travel across the Atlantic Ocean. Steamship travel time was 1 to 2 weeks versus the old sailing ships, which could take 1 to 6 months. This helped not only to cut the travel time, but also to prevent diseases from spreading on board. As many as 3,000 people crowded the ships and often came from different countries, spoke different languages, and belonged to different religions. Ships divided passengers by wealth and class. First and second class passengers stayed in staterooms and cabins, but most people were in third class, called steerage. Steerage was a large space at the bottom of the hold. Here you can see how crowded the deck of the ships could be as immigrants were packed like sardines from bow to stern. Step 2. The arrival. The trip across the Atlantic Ocean was rough, as some ships were crowded and dirty, and most passengers were extremely tired upon arrival. One of the first sights immigrants saw was the Statue of Liberty. The first immigrant ever to step foot on Ellis Island was a 15-year-old girl named Annie Moore, a rosy-cheeked Irish girl. Health officers would board the ship in the harbor to look for signs of diseases. If the ship passed their inspection, doctors would then check their health of the first and second class passengers. These lucky few were processed quickly and could leave the ship when it docked at New York City. Third-class passengers often would wait for hours or days until a smaller ferry boat took them to Ellis Island for immigration processing. Here you can see in picture A, third-class passengers, and in picture B, first-class passengers awaiting their departures. For an audio account of Lawrence Manuel from Poland, who landed at Ellis Island in 1920 at the age of 6, click the link below. For video footage of immigrants arriving in New York Harbor and stepping on American soil for the first time in 1903, click the link below. Once on the web page, click the appropriate audio and video tabs. Step 3. The baggage room. Officers wearing uniforms greeted the ferry boat as it docked at Ellis Island, shouting and motioning passengers to walk down the gangplank to the main building. Officers passed out number identity tags. Those that did not speak English were often unsure what the officers were saying, and the commotion was overwhelming. Men, women, and children struggled off the boat carrying trunks, clothes sacks, and suitcases. They could only bring both practical things such as blankets, and clothes, as well as sentimental keepsakes and family heirlooms. For third-class passengers, tying all of their smaller bags into large bundles was a good way to keep track of their things in the baggage room. Wearing their number tags, immigrants followed one another along a path, entering the imposed red brick building into the baggage room on the ground floor. They left their precious belongings here until their inspection was done. Next, immigrants went up a flight of stairs to the registry room where the medical and legal inspections took place. For an audio account of the arrival of Ellis Island from Manny Steen from Ireland in 1925 at the age of 19, click the link below. For video footage of immigrants coming off the steamships and carrying their baggage, click the link below. Once on the web page, click the appropriate audio and video tabs. Step 4. The stairs to the registry room. The process began on the winding stairs that led to the registry room. Doctors stood on the second floor watching each person, looking for those having trouble walking, breathing, or showing signs of other health problems. When Ellis Island Station was built, officials thought no more than 1,500,000 immigrants would pass through in a year. In 1907, more than 1 million arrived with a single-day high of 11,747 people. The immigration process on Ellis Island usually took 3 to 5 hours. This was not because the medical and legal inspections were lengthy, but because there were probably 1,000 or more people aligned ahead of you. Step 5. The registry room. The registry room was nicknamed the Great Hall due to its large rectangular blueprint that spanned 200 feet long and 102 feet wide. The waiting area in the Great Hall had long metal rails that helped maintain an orderly line as people went through the medical and legal inspections. The noise in the room could be deafening as the sounds of thousands of voices bounced off the vaulting ceilings. Officials in the Great Hall decided whether each person could enter the country right away or whether that person's case required further review. From 1903 to 1914, immigrants were checked for trachoma, a contagious eye disease. Doctors used a tool called a button hook to lift a person's eyelid to look for the disease. The button hook was a well-known and feared part of the immigration process. Those with trachoma were often sent back to their home countries. Many women were not allowed to enter America alone until after World War II. Ellis Island officials would detain them because they were afraid the women would be unable to find relatives in America and be unable to support themselves. Children could also be sent back to their home countries. After 1907, children under the age of 16 had to be traveling with a parent. If they were not, they would be sent back to their home country. Click the following link of a true account of Lucy Atarian, a 5-year-old American child from Turkey who came to America in 1921. Listen as she explains how officials doubted she was her parents' child because she had lighter colored hair and her parents had darker skin complexions. Officials suspected her parents of bringing an orphan and separated them during the legal inspection to test their theory. Step 6. The medical exam. The doctors at Ellis Island developed a system to identify immigrants who needed medical attention. The first test was a 6-second physical. A uniformed doctor looked for many signs of illnesses and contagious diseases. The doctor noted whether immigrants limped or were short of breath, if their eyes were red, if they acted disturbed or even seemed otherwise abnormal. If someone was considered at risk to the public health, his or her clothes were marked with a piece of chalk with an identifying letter. Immigrants who were marked were taken out of the line and kept for further examination. Immigrants who passed continued through the maze of metal rails toward the far end of the hall for the legal inspection. The picture on the left depicts the classification codes doctors use during the 6-second physical exam. On the right, a doctor performs a 6-second physical on an immigrant. The Immigration Act of 1891 forbade anybody with dangerous contagious disease from entering the country. This was a way to prevent epidemics in the American population. If any diseases were found, the immigrant would immediately be sent to quarantine or back to his or her country. Medical detainees were sent to Ellis Island Hospital. The average stay there was about 2 weeks. About 1/10 of immigrants were marked for further medical inspection. Approximately 10% of that group was eventually denied entrance into America. That means about 120,000 people were sent back home either for incurable contagious diseases or disabilities. For a true account of medical inspection from Rachel Chenitz, a 10-year-old girl from Palestine who came to America in 1922, click the following link. Step 7. The legal inspection. Each arriving steamship's crew gave officials at Ellis Island a list of names of the passengers on board. The manifest, as the list was called, had the name and the description of each passenger. One by one, the passengers were called forward to speak with a uniformed inspector seated on a tall stool behind a desk. Interpreters helped immigrants communicate as they were asked the standard 29 questions. Question samples included, but not limited to: where were you born? Are you married? What is your occupation? Have you ever been convicted of a crime? How much money do you have? And what is your destination? Immigrants could be detained if their answers varied from the manifest. After World War I, immigration policies changed. Instead of being inspected only at Ellis Island, many immigrants had to work with U.S. government offices in their home countries to get medical and legal inspection before they left. After 1924, Ellis Island was not used the same way as it had been. From 1927 to 1954, when the station closed, it was used only as a detention center for immigration. To listen to an account from Paul Lard, a 14-year-old boy from Yugoslavia in 1940, about how his 16-year-old brother's visa was rejected and what his family decided to do, click the following link. Step 8. The detainees. For most immigrants, Ellis Island was the island of hope. But for the unfortunate few who failed the health or legal inspections, it was known as the Isle of Tears. Legal detainees lived in a dormitory room on the 3rd floor, waiting anywhere from a few days to a month until their case was reviewed in the hearing room. Immigrants who were detained for medical reasons were cared for by the island's hospital or kept in quarantine. Some were treated for weeks or even months by the hundreds of staff and employees. During Ellis Island's 62 years of immigration station, 355 babies were born on the island, and more than 3,500 immigrants died there. Eventually, a board of special inquiry would review an individual's medical report and decide whether to allow them into the United States or to send them back. If immigrants were denied access to the United States, steamship companies were responsible for taking back, free of charge, all immigrants who turned away for medical or legal reasons. If someone under the age of 16 was turned away, a family member could also accompany that person home free of charge. Step 9. The stairs of separation. After the medical and legal inspection, immigrants arrived at the top of another staircase at the end of the Great Wall and had 3 aisles. Immigrants who were being detained were often brought down the center aisle. People who were traveling west or south walked down the right side of the staircase, and those going to New York City or north walked down the left side of the staircase. At the bottom of the stairs, a post office, a ticketing office for the railways, and social workers to help immigrants who needed assistance. There were also an office to exchange money for their home country for U.S. dollars. Exchange rates for currencies around the world were posted each day on the blackboard. By 1911, 39 foreign languages were being translated at Ellis Island. Immigrant aid societies were organized for most countries and cultures and helped interpret languages for immigrants and officials. They also helped immigrants find their relatives and places to live. Before 1925, immigrants did not need any type of paperwork to enter the United States. After January 1925, immigrants applied and obtained passports and visas at U.S. consulates and embassies in their home countries. Click the following link to hear an audio account from Manny Steen from Ireland on how one had to have at least $20 to enter America beginning in 1909. Step 10. The Kissing Post. The Kissing Post was an area on the first floor of the building and became known as the Kissing Post. It got its nickname because it was where family and friends waited for their loved ones. After months or even years apart, they kissed and hugged and shouted with joy and relief. For immigrants, the long journey was finally over. They were officially American. Passengers would send letters to family and friends to tell them the name of the ship they would be traveling on and the date they expected to arrive. Also, shipping companies posted steamship schedules in the newspapers so family and friends could watch for the notices and then go and meet their arriving passenger. Click the following link to hear the audio account of Estelle Belford, who came to America from Romania with her mother at the age of 5 to be reunited with her father, who she did not even know yet. To explore a video of Ellis Island, click the following link. For a historical timeline and explore the events from 1492 to the present, click the following link and then click the orange circular button in the upper right hand corner of the page. I hope you enjoyed the trip down Ellis Island. Have a good day.